Hi, baby. Kippa has come to say hello. Say hello, Kippa. Oh, you're so cute. She still isn't totally comfortable being held. She doesn't quite understand the experience. Do you, baby? Say, yes, I would very much like to get down, please. She's getting more used to, like, being cuddled, though. Yes. Say, I come and ask for pets sometimes now. Oh, I want to give you a kiss, but my lipstick will get all over your face. You're so cute. Okay, okay. Okay, do you want to go open the window? Well, hello! Welcome back to my channel. Jashana here to talk about some friggin' books. So I have a few books to talk about today, but a couple are actually DNFs. Whatever. And one of them I won't talk about today because it's part of my fantasy romance deep dive part 2. Starting with the DNFs. Both of these were NetGalley e-arcs, so that's disappointing. The first one is Shadow of the Gods by Gwynne. This is book 1 in a new series from him. I have not read his other series, the kind of continuation that comes like a generation or so after this one, Faithful and the Fallen. I've not started that one. I do still want to, and this one is in a totally different world. It's very Nordic, Viking, that whole kind of, what am I trying to say? World. Jesus. Setting. There we go. Yeah, it's adult fantasy. I didn't get super far into it. I want to say I got 20% or so. Maybe. I don't really remember. But I wasn't hating it. I just wasn't connecting at all with it. I was kind of curious about what was going to happen with them, but also not at all. I don't know, I just wasn't giving a crap about the plot either, so I said I'm gonna stop wasting my time with this. And that one was a 5-star prediction also, so that's a bummer. The next one was Flashfire by TJ Klune. This is book 2 in the Extraordinaries. I don't know if it's gonna be a duology or if there's supposed to be more. I read Extraordinaries and I did quite enjoy it. It's young adult fantasy, but like contemporary fantasy. It's like superheroes. It's quite young as far as the tone of it. It reads like younger YA. And it's like superhero-y. It's very comic-y, comic book-esque in tone. And so I didn't mind that because I think it's supposed to be, you know, that makes sense. But I was really enjoying getting to know the characters and the dynamics between the characters. However, I had a little bit of an issue with what felt like positive police propaganda in the book. Before I even saw any reviews or anything talking about this, as I was reading it, I was like, I don't love this. We're kind of justifying a police officer assaulting a citizen and like making it out like it's okay. There were reasons for it. No, I don't love this. And then I saw that other, people had brought this up and kind of called this out, and TJ Klune had put out kind of a statement about it of being like, yeah, my bad. I'm going to fix it, in the continuation. And I kind of was just curious. I wanted to see. And like I said, I did enjoy the character dynamics and whatnot. But in this one, I only got like 10 to 20% of the way into this one also. And I did see a little bit of the tone regarding police changing. So I was like, okay, that's promising. But the character dynamics are different in this one for reasons I won't say because it's spoilery. But yeah, the dynamic is different, and it was no longer cute and like heartwarming and like, oh, adorable for me. It was kind of like, okay, you're annoying really young teenagers with your really young teenager dialogue and whatnot that I'm just not gonna connect with. Obviously, not for me. So that's basically why I DNF'd this one. just didn't really care anymore. I was like, all right, first one was cute, fine, whatever. Don't need to continue. First book for this recent wrap-up that I did actually finish is actually a book that was lent to me by Elle, The Downstairs Girl by Stacey Lee. This is young adult historical fiction. It's set in 1800s Atlanta, Reconstruction era, etc. Our main character is a Chinese American girl who loves her job making hats. What is it called? Milliner, right? She is being raised by an elderly uncle, and they secretly live in a unknown hidden basement under a paper mill. She is right off the bat fired from her job, basically just for being Chinese, even though she's very good at her job because racism, and she has to go back to this other home where her uncle works in the stables, and she has to be a lady's maid to the daughter of this family who is a bitch. Horrible bitch. And things ensue from there. So for the characters, Joe, our main character, is just the sweetest thing. And also a little spunky. So I liked that. And we don't get to see the side characters as much. We are basically with Joe, like in her perspective the whole time. But the side characters I did think were interesting and well-rounded. They all had distinct personalities and brought something to the story. So for, world building or atmosphere for this, because it's just historical fiction, there's no world to build, but I really enjoyed that while we are following Joe and her escapades and like what is going on with her directly, we get to see a lot of the other shit going on societally at the time. Segregation is starting, as well as the suffragist movement. And we not only just hear about that on a surface level, but we get to see it a little bit deeper also, which I really appreciated because that's not always done necessarily with historical fiction in particular. Like with the suffragist movement, we see, it's happening and all women riding bicycles and ooh, scandalous and whatever. And like women trying to fight for the vote. And through all of this, though, we get to see how black women, other women of color, are just completely pushed out by the white women, and how the white women are essentially expecting the women of color to be happy that some women are making progress. Like, oh, you're not, but hey, at least we are. You should be happy about that, like step in the right direction. And just, we get to see all of that, and and other things too, but yeah, I just really liked how she touched on all of those organically within this story. It was pretty quickly paced. Like I said, it was pretty quick to read through, easy to read through, and I don't know, I thought it worked, made sense. It wasn't a bad thing. The plot definitely kept my interest, and there were a couple of twists and turns that I did not see coming. I was like, oh shit. So that was kind of cool. Some, oh shit moments, as I call them. Several themes touched on here. Intersectional feminism, racism, xenophobia, othering and like fetishizing people, interracial relationships, affairs, liaisons, what have you, and family, like found family specifically. So I enjoyed this quite a bit. I wasn't in love with it, but I liked it a fair amount. And even though it does touch on some deeper topics and the themes it touches on are more serious themes, it still has this lightness to it. I think because of the main character, because she's so sweet and positive and resilient and just like, let's keep going. She kind of brings that to these, darker subjects or deeper, more serious subjects, So I ended up giving this 3.5 Pushinicorns, a generally really good time. And then next up was another almost DNF from NetGalley, She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Chan. So I had this as an ebook from NetGalley, and I got 52% of the way through, and I was like, I can't anymore, I don't care. And then I was talking to Elle about it, because I was like, I think she would really like this. And I was like, I'm pretty sure she bought it and has it, I just want to talk to her about it. So as I'm explaining it to her on Voxer, I was like, I was liking this, I was enjoying it. Why did I want to put it down? And honestly, I just think, I don't read ebooks a lot, and I think I was just getting burnt out on fantasy ebooks. Every time I pick it up, almost immediately I would be like, I need a nap. And I don't know, my eyes, what it is about ebooks, I just can't read them a shit ton. And it was just kind of bogging down my reading experience with it, which is weird, probably, I know, whatever. So I went and got a physical copy, and the first 52% that I read on ebook, it took me about 8 to 10 days to get through that. When I got the physical copy, the remaining 48% took me like a day and a half. So definitely think it was kind of ebook burnout for me. I'm going to set this up here. But yeah, anyways, this is adult historical fantasy. It is a reimagining of the beginning of the Ming Dynasty in 1300s China. We have a female main character who is living in abject poverty in the countryside with her father and brother. And her and her brother become orphaned by murderous bandits. And then her brother succumbs to his grief as well. He was given a fate of greatness while she was given a fate of nothingness. So she decides, I'm just going to steal his fate and live as him and get everything coming to him. So she takes on an identity of being a man, of being Zhu Changba, her brother. She goes to a monastery to become a monk. A few years later, that monastery is destroyed by the Great Khan's army. So Zhu goes off to start her destiny. At first, we follow only Zhu, but then as it goes on, we start getting perspectives from different characters, from characters on the other side of this conflict, war, what have you, between the Great Khan's army and the rebel Red Turbans, as they are called. So the characters, they were definitely complex and interesting, quite serious. This book in general is quite serious, I would say. There's little moments of levity here and there, but generally it's a lot of character work, character growth, progression, etc. It's very character driven, I will say that. There's not a crap ton of action really happening. There's a fair amount of introspection and, thought of the characters we're following and their various emotional issues and mental kind of, meanderings, etc. And I think that's why in the first half I was struggling a little bit also. Also, the characters, our main characters, are not exactly great people. Towards the end especially, I was like, they are all kind of shit humans a little bit. Just ambition, greed, it's kind of all they care about really. So the plot and the pacing, like I said, the pacing I definitely think is quite slow. Things started picking up at the very end, of course, as you would expect it to, but overall it was pretty slow, very, very, very character driven. It's a lot of military strategizing, but you don't really see the actual battles happening. So themes touched on, misogyny, we see some of that and like how people deal with it. Gender identity, gender expression, and what that means for different characters based on their different circumstances. Because we do have two main characters who are dealing with this. One by choice, and one, like our main character, she just is living as a man in order to take her brother's fate. Not because she wants to be a man, but after living as a man for so long, it's like she has a weird relationship with gender identity in general, right? She doesn't quite understand her femininity because she's like pushed it away, you know what I mean? But it's not because she like wants to be a man and is trans necessarily. It's, it's just very complicated. And then we have another character who has a complicated relationship with gender identity, not by choice. And that's all I'll say about that. Well, I think it's in the synopsis. Is it in the synopsis? No, it's not. Okay. Yeah, so I won't say anything about that. But yeah, there is another character who's also grappling with this. So yeah, that's a huge thing that is touched on. Fate and destiny. I think this might also be part of why I didn't fully love this book because, and I mean, it makes sense. It's based in, you know, ancient, that would be considered ancient, right? 1300s China? I don't know. Is that ancient? I don't know what really counts. But long time ago, China. But just in Chinese culture in general, I know fate, destiny are a thing, right? Like it's a pretty big part, and especially I think back then, I don't know if it's more so then and less so now or not necessarily, but definitely back then it was a huge thing for sure. Still to this day it is. But me personally, I don't have this type of a relationship or belief in fate. I don't think that's how life works. I think life is random as fuck. In general, you know, I have friends who aren't Asian of any sort who just believe in, you know, the universe and manifesting things and things are meant to be. And yeah, I just don't really believe all of that. I don't really subscribe to that belief. You know, I don't begrudge anyone who does, like more power to you. We all need what we need to get through life and make sense of life, right? But yeah, for me personally, since it's so like the opposite of what I believe and feel, following multiple characters who are, that is their whole purpose in life, is getting that fate to come true or following their fate, reaching for that destiny that they believe with their whole heart. I just don't connect with that on a deep level, obviously. So yeah, I think that was a little bit of why I wasn't getting super gripped by these characters, but it also combined with another personal thing, probably just their deep desire for ambition and kind of their greed. I can't relate, and it makes me not really, I don't want to say it makes me not like them, but it makes them like unlikable characters, you know, where you're like, you're doing really terrible things all in the name of what I want, like my desires in life because of what I think my destiny is. And I just can't really get super behind that, you know. But yeah, that's a huge theme here too, though. Fate and destiny plays a major part in this story. So if you like that kind of stuff, you'll probably really like this book. And another thing too was like living up to other people's expectations. That was touched on a few times with different characters, and I enjoyed that. So I really enjoyed all of the themes that were touched on. I thought they were done really well and explored really well. It's a very well-written book. So yay to that. But like was it a good time? It's kind of like yes, but also no. Like it was, and then it wasn't at times, and then at other times it was. I have a very complicated relationship with this book. I think because the main characters weren't fun to read about because I think they're kind of doing trash things for selfish reasons, but they were also very interesting and nuanced and complicated, and they have complicated relationships with each other. And so it was all interesting. I'm definitely going to continue with the series, check out the next book, see how I feel about that. And I did end up on my scale giving this one 3.75 pushinicorns. I almost gave it 4, but I was like, Jashana, you almost DNF'd it. You know, you did DNF it for like a hot second. I didn't quite enjoy it, but like I said, I don't know how much of that is because of the pacing and the characters and whatnot, or just that I was burnt out on ebooks. I don't really know. But, so take it with a grain of salt. But, I mean, 3.75 is pretty high still, so. And next was another NetGalley e-arc. Can you tell I was trying to get through my fucking arcs? I finally did, thank God. Jeez, it's been, I don't know why I do that. Every time I do it, I end up regretting it, where I go on NetGalley and I'm like, request. And then I get approved for all these things and I'm like, fuck, that's a lot of ebooks to read. By the time I get to most of them, they're already published. So this one is not published yet, but that's because it's not supposed to be published until this fall. And that is Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune. This one is another adult contemporary fantasy like House in the Cerulean Sea. It looks very similar as far as like the cover and I'm sorry, my hair is seriously, it feels weird on my head. Does that make sense? Or it feels weird on my face. Anyway, the cover looks a lot like House in the Cerulean Sea. It's not in the same world to my knowledge. Maybe it is. I don't know. But, you know, you wouldn't know. There's no character crossover or anything like that. But we are following, I don't have it written down for the premise, so forgive me, I'm going to ramble. But we're basically following a guy who's a dick. He's an ass. He is straight up an asshole. Wallace is his name. And Wallace dies. and Wallace has to go meet this ferryman who is, to help him cross over. And this ferryman lives in this tea shop that he runs. He's like a human. And so Wallace is kicking it in this tea shop with a cast of characters while he processes and prepares to cross over. And that's the general premise. And it says in the synopsis that there's a little romance perhaps happening between Wallace and the ferryman, whose name is Hugo. So this book, I loved House in the Cerulean Sea, as you all know, and I was fully expecting to love this one. It's on my 5-star predictions. I did not give it 5 stars, though. I didn't dislike it by any means, but I didn't really love it. There wasn't really necessarily anything wrong with it. The characters are fine, I guess. Okay, the characters. Wallace is basically Linus from House in the Cerulean Sea, but an asshole at the beginning. Like, they live very similar lives, just like going to work, not really having a life, and just doing their little routine and whatever. But like, where Linus is this very well-intentioned, gentle soul on the inside, and just like timidly going through life, just doing what he's supposed to do, whatever. But he's a nice man. Wallace is on his routine, just cares about work, whatever, but he's such an asshole in life. Like, a terrible, awful person. I mean, he's not a murderer or anything like that, but he's just a dick. So right off the bat, he's harder to give a shit about and like. And then Hugo, the ferryman, is essentially Arthur from House on the Cerulean Sea. And just this very calm, chill, wise, therapist type character to our main character, helping him learn about himself and grow, right? And I mean, I don't necessarily have a problem with that, but I think because, especially with Wallace, I didn't like him as much as Linus, and I just couldn't help but compare them in my head. I just was comparing them. Hugo was great. I liked Hugo. But yeah, Wallace, I was just like, you're a dick, though. Why do I give a fuck about you and your growth, It took you dying to become a better person. Like, that kind of sucks. And I mean, it touches on a lot of themes of grief, death, dying. So definitely content warnings. I would say content warnings for death in general. Intense grief, loss of a child, suicide, death by murder. If you've known anyone in your life who has dealt with that, or if you've dealt with that, like losing someone to suicide or losing someone to murder or losing a child, tread lightly. But yeah, this book kind of just feels like, I saw a review that said this, a 3-star review, and I was like, yes. It just kind of felt like this asshole guy, and then like a conversation between this character and a therapist in the afterlife, continuously, over weeks. It was just very slow, not a lot happening, and there are side characters, but not nearly as many. There's like 2. But like, in House in the Cerulean Sea, I hate comparing them, but like, I can't help it. Part of the charm of it was the kids. And I think with that book, I just connected with the messaging more. Again, on a personal level, I was telling Jess about this because she also loved House in the Cerulean Sea and wants to read this. I was like, I didn't love it. I was like, it's a lot of dealing with death and grief and dying and people coming to terms with death and whatnot. And most people probably would connect with that. Most people definitely fear death, right? As humans, I think it's largely human nature to fear the unknown, to fear like your life being done and not knowing what happens after that. And we want answers for it. Hello, religion, right? Like we grasp for answers for what happens to us when we die. I just never really have felt that way. Even when I was a little kid and I was like Christian and growing up Christian, I just didn't, I don't know, I didn't have a fear of death or dying, and I don't know, I'm like, I'm gonna die someday. Like, it's gonna happen, like, and I have no idea what's gonna happen when I do. Who cares? Like, I don't know, that's how I feel about it. So it's like a message that, like, I don't want to say I don't need it, because you don't have to need a message to, like, connect with it, but it's just a message, a whole exploration of a topic that I just didn't connect with on a personal level either. I 100% could see a lot of people really connecting with this conversation on grief and on death. For sure. I think a lot of people will really connect with this and find it very touching and moving and heartwarming, etc. I just didn't really. I was kind of like, okay, I get it. Like I said, it just kind of felt like this continuous therapy session over and over and over again with a character that I was like, you're a dick. I kind of don't like that you only realized how much of an ass you were because you died. You know? I don't know. So that was that, but it still was cute, and like I said, I really liked Hugo as a character, and like the side characters were still cute. So I ended up giving this one 3 Pushinicorns. It was fine. I didn't dislike it, I didn't hate it. I just didn't care that much. It just didn't click with me all that much. It was not the book for me, which is disappointing, because like I said, this was on my 5-star predictions list. I was off. There we go. Those are the books I'm going to talk about today. Holy shit, talked way too long. So sorry. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that shit. If you don't have anything to really say, you can just leave a little cute emoji to say what's up. As always, thank you so much for your time. Hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.